Hello, my name is Ellie, and in this video I will show you how I created this vivarium. This is actually my very first dart frog vivarium to create, and I made it soilless, so there is absolutely no dirt, soil, bark, anything of that kind. I haven't seen anything like this online or on YouTube yet, and I was actually inspired from how I keep all of my houseplants, because I have a ton of houseplants and I keep them all in a soilless medium, and I wanted to see if I could create a vivarium using the same principles. First thing that I did was spray the entire back with the Great Stuff expanding foam, and I cut all of the ends off to make it more flat. And then I cut out a piece of landscape fabric and made it the same size that I needed, and then I added a bunch of sphagnum moss to the back, and this was just because the fabric was a little bit see-through and I didn't like the color that the foam was. Then I put in some perlite at the bottom, and I made sure to rinse it out to get any dust off, and I filled that up just a little bit. And then the top layer was leca, which is the same medium that a lot of people use as drainage layers, but I also use it for my houseplants, and all my houseplants are growing in leca right now as opposed to having soil. I found some pieces of wood from outside and I put them in place, and then I ended up using silicone and super glue to glue them in place. And now I have a water pump that I connected to some airline tubing, and I have it coming down or up from the left side, and I have it with a little piece that allows water to come out at that point, as well as being connected to another piece of tubing that goes to the other side. And this is some moss that I found from outside, which was beautiful, and I just used regular super glue to put it on, and it was so easy. Even when the moss was completely wet, I just put a little bit of super glue and pressed the moss onto the wood, and it stuck really well. And I let it cure for just a few minutes before turning on the water feature, and I really liked the way that the water interacted with the moss, because it really diffused the water instead of having it all from like one stream coming out of the tubing, and it gave this really natural look to both of the waterfalls. Once I got all the moss placed, I started putting in some of my larger plants. This is a Philodendron Camposportoanum, and it's lightly rooted, and so I just went and found a pretty place for it, and I just dug a little hole in the leca and then buried it, and it was already used to being in this medium, so that went well. That is a Melanochrysum Verrucossum hybrid. It's one of my favorite plants, and so I wanted to have it kind of front and center. And that is a Macodes Petola, which is a type of jewel orchid. And then there's my silver dragon Alocasia. This is a Monstera Standleyana Variegata. It's a cool plant because it can have large pieces of variegation randomly pop up. And then this is just a Philodendron Micans. I really like the velvety leaves and the reddish tinge that it has, and I put that in two places. This is Cissus amazonica. I love this plant. I got it online for a pretty good deal. I love the backs of the leaves and the silvery color, and I just kind of placed that one right there and then along the waterfall on the right. Now I'm just placing the moss to create an even surface. I really like this look. I like the moss and how thick it is, and I turned on the waterfall for the first time, and I just really loved the way that it was dripping down in multiple places and that the moss was getting evenly watered. This is a Monstera Peru. really cool texture on the leaves, and this plant likes to climb, so I put that in the back. And then I'm just adding some more moss. It's giving it a very textured look because it's not very even. It's kind of mounded. Right there I snuck in a Philodendron Sodiorini. It's a miniature version of a Philodendron Sodiorini. And here I'm making a piece to cover where I put my my water pump. So I'm going to use more of the landscape fabric to just hot glue over that X that I made with those two sticks so that I could make a cover, and then I will cover it with moss so that it's easy to access if I need to, but it's pretty invisible from the outside. A water filter is actually sitting in a netted kind of rectangular box thing that you can buy to separate fish in an aquarium, and I just did that to keep anything from getting into the pump. Here's some plants for the back wall that someone was kind enough to give me. They did a big trim on their vivarium and they just gave me a bunch of cuttings, so those are going to go on the back wall. And here I am adding some string of turtles. I really like the size of the leaves. It's very delicate and small. And then here we go with the back wall, and I just used small dots of hot glue to make them all stick where they needed to go. And here is the final product. I love the way that it turned out, and I will be posting update videos on any changes that I need to make, and just to update you guys on how the plants are growing and any problems that I've run into. I really like that this has absolutely no soil in it. I think it gives it a very clean look, and it's the way that I prefer to keep my plants. And I'm hoping that the waste from the frogs and all the other things will provide enough fertilizer for the plants within the water so that it'll be kind of like a self-cleaning system. I won't need to add any fertilizers. Thank you so much for watching. If you liked this video, please give it a thumbs up, and if you'd like to see more, please subscribe.